All right. So, hi everyone, and I'm Bashar. I'm really excited to kick off things today for panel number one, AI World Solutions Summit. I'll do a quick round of intros from myself, and I'll pass the baton to our friends here on the call. I am the head of early stage innovation and exploratory research at 7-Eleven, and looking forward to learning from all our esteemed guests and colleagues as we explore the first panel, which is going to be really exciting based on the panelists that we have today. So maybe I'll pass it off to Stefan.
Hello, everybody. I'm Stefan. I'm the Beauty Tech Program Director for L'Oréal. So I don't think I need to present L'Oréal. We are the leader of the beauty industry, a 42 billion company, and the program that I lead, Beauty Tech, is about using AI and technology to re-enchant the consumer experience and also the employee experience. Maybe Anca?
Hello, my name is Anca Iordanescu. I introduce myself as a technologist. I am a founder of the Women in Tech Alliance, and when I'm not doing all these nice things, I work at IKEA, at INGKA Digital. I'm a VP of engineering of an area called Store of the Future, where we are implementing interesting things with the AI to help our customers, but also our coworkers in the stores. And I'm handing over to Nisa.
Hello, my name is Nissa Packard. I lead our customer experience team at Skyscanner, which you probably know for booking your flights, hotels, and cars when you travel. And within customer experience and at Skyscanner in general, we use AI in a variety of use cases, whether it's front end to improve the customer experience with better recommendations or ranking, also on our back end in terms of how we fetch pricing to get the best, most accurate prices. And also in terms of how we work internally, looking for efficiencies in how we can write code and also transform signal to action faster. And I'll hand it to Astha.
Hey everyone, I'm Astha. I'm the director for product operations at Walmart. I'm sure everyone's heard of Walmart. Hopefully, you guys have shopped at Walmart. AI is powering a lot of our end-to-end experience for our customers. We often say that it's tech is the fuel that's powering Walmart, but we're very, very focused on the customer experience and how do we make sure that everyone has access to affordable products.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for everyone that's listening in from all around the world. And so to start off with the conversation, as you can see, we have different companies, we have different countries, we have different time zones. I myself based out of Texas, United States, and we have colleagues from all around the world. So looking forward to the broad range of experiences and different roles and different companies and industries that are represented here today. So to kick things off, maybe we can just start with Asta. How can AI and machine learning personalize customer experiences while respecting privacy?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of people, right, like when they think about AI and ML, because it's so new, they're like, hey, how do I use it? How is it working? How have I interacted with it? Something very simple that most people have used is Netflix. If you've used Netflix, you have had an experience that AI has powered. If you've ever gone down the rabbit hole where you start a Netflix series and as soon as you finish it, you have a recommendation for the next one, and it is great, that is powered by an AI ML algorithm. Coming into sort of more of a retail environment, right? If you ever go ahead and search for an item, you will often find most retailers have a shelf, which is called you may also like, because we know based on your history, based on what prior customers have shopped, what is an item that could help make that product even more effective, right? What is a companion product for you to make your entire purchase more seamless, to make that experience even better for you? So things like that are powered by AI and ML. It's definitely one of the key ways that you can fuel personalization so that what a customer sees on a website or the recommendations you make, they're hyper personalized to that particular customer. So those are some of the ways AI and ML is powering customer experience.
Awesome, thank you. I'd love to hear about Skyscanner and this. What are your thoughts on personalization and AI and privacy in this regard?
Yeah, so I think when we talk about personalization, we sometimes forget that there are many different flavors of personalization. So Asta was talking about, user-based personalization, and I think that's typically what we think of first, but that obviously does get into the, data privacy concerns, and people are less and less likely to want to share more about themselves. But there are other flavors of personalization. Zooming out the most, we have contextual personalization, which is not based on any user-specific data. This is something when I was at Meta, we were exploring, given the walled gardens that were being created with data. How can we personalize ads based on contextual signals that we have, not knowing who that user is? And we did this at McDonald's when I was there back in the day, even before AI was a thing, looking at what day of the week is it? What is the weather forecast? Is it a school holiday? All of those things impacted the forecast we had for how many McFlurries and hamburgers we would sell that day. So there's a lot you can do in that space that requires zero personal data. There's, of course, segment-based personalization, which is, what FMCG has been leveraging for decades. And then the one that we're most interested in at Skyscanner is occasion-based personalization, or trip-based, as we call it. So that's not about, who you are, Asta, as a person, and what might you like on your next trip, but it's about what are your specific requirements for this trip. What are you looking to experience? Because obviously a honeymoon, a girls' weekend, a family beach holiday all have different requirements. So if we were to make recommendations just based on you as an individual, we'd likely get it wrong. And then within all of that, there are the implicit and explicit ways of personalization. And what we've actually found through a fair amount of research is that travelers are keen to give us explicit signals. So we don't need to infer their intent based on behavior. They're actually wanting to tell us what they want to experience on that trip. So we can use that to personalize. And then, for example, what type of vibe or experience they want in the destination they're looking for. And then we use LLMs on the back end to code what destinations are good for so that we can recommend destinations that best fit their needs. So anyway, in a nutshell, I would say think outside the box. There isn't one flavor of personalization, and there are many that do not depend on personal data.
Awesome, that's really cool. I love how it's such a balanced conversation on the personalized data as opposed to non-personalized data and the different touch points that you guys both shared. Anca?
Yeah, I wanted just to build on what Nisa says about how we in the stores we would like to use um, customer preferences to build their favorite rooms, and that's where we talk about personalized room design. You become your own designer. You design your room, and then we have this kind of a generative conversational way of building your own design room. And then of course this comes with a shopping list, basket, and then recommendation, further personalized recommendation based on your wishes. So we still use it, but it's something that we really would like to have it in our stores, and also online to support our customers.
And maybe to add on that, what I like also in what you say, Nisa, is the fact that sometimes we can ask explicit question to the customer or to the consumer. And I know for us in the beauty industry, people are overwhelmed with the choice of products, and simply asking the question on what are the preference, what is really key to them, is a very key data that will help us make the right recommendation and enhance the consumer experience. So I think that trade-off between the value that they get by providing more data is the right balance to think. And I think sometimes we tend to try to guess what they want, and I think we just can ask.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So for the next question, what's the role of data in enhancing customer experiences with AI, and how can we ensure responsible use? Stefan, would you like to kick off this one?
Yeah, if I build on what I was saying, so for us, really, the use of data is helping the consumer to choose the right product or the right routine for them, and for that, we are tapping in multiple sources of data, external sources like lifestyle, weather, that are important when you use your beauty products. But also, as I was mentioning, asking very simple questions on, what is your skin type, what is your preference, and that we engage into conversation with our consumer. But what is important to do that in a responsible way is to be very transparent in the way we do it. Just say we will use that data to do that. Also to make sure that when we use this type of data, and that we do it in a very inclusive, and we also work on bias. So basically, in all the algorithm that we are deploying and creating to enhance the consumer experience, exclusivity and looking at bias is really key. Obviously, there is always a human intervention in what we do. So there is human oversight in all what we develop to make sure that we don't over rely on algorithmic. But what I wanted to say, a source of inspiration in inventing the consumer experience in a responsible way, is also be inspired by what is happening in the real world, in the stores, because there, when you listen to the to the way people interact with the beauty assistant, the type of question that they ask, you get a lot of knowledge of what people are happy to share, what people are more frightened, and then you can leverage that piece of information in the AI powered world.
Great, thank you for sharing. For the next question, Anca, how do AI and machine learning help businesses anticipate and meet customer needs? You kind of spoke on this when you were mentioning design your own room, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So that's actually the whole AI is to collect data and understand the needs. It's about how do you want to have your life driven through your data that you are providing. And of course, that requires a little bit of interaction between customer to accept to share the data and the preferences they have it. So the machine learning algorithms behind can build the right things. And this is what we are really trying to do. For example, via conversational search, we want them we want to help them not only to respond to their very to the point questions, but we want to go to a little bit broader. For example, we are looking into understanding to provide answer to generic questions like how can I improve my sleep, and then could be different ways of improving. So you take this kind of a question and you say you can lower temperature in your room, and by the way, to do that you can do this, and then of course then you target some products, or you can use these pillows, or you can use this duvet, or you can use this sheet, or you can use this mattress. So a little bit, you take a little bit on a higher context and to a very specific. Also, hyper-personalization, it's about understanding your needs. I'm a student, I want to furnish my room for my university's room. How do I do it? It's 15 square meters. Can you help me? So this is the way we are looking into solving our customer needs and also understanding their preferences, so we can really target their needs.
Cool. I have
Very
a
cool.
slightly different take on how we're approaching it at Skyscanner, which is trying to detect users' needs as quickly as possible and get them to the relevant owner to do something about as quickly as possible. So this is something we're setting up within my team, calling it the signal to action engine. But basically, obviously, in today's world, we have tens or hundreds of thousands of data points about any of our brands that people are freely sharing out in the market, whether it's on social media, on Trustpilot, in App Store reviews, whatever it might be. We have all this feedback that we could be learning from to improve our product in real time. The question is, how do we do that? And of course, AI is the answer. So that's what we're currently looking at. And we have our MVP in place, but now we're looking to scale it up so that we can ingest all of those different data sources, synthesize the data, prioritize the data, and triage the action points to the right owners in real time so that we are regularly reacting to signal from our travelers as they come out.
Right. there's a lot of product folks represented today, so I think it's exciting how the concepts like voice of the customer and just empathizing customer journey and pain points are now so much more dynamic, and we can double click and triple click and know more about the customers and even the way they're putting it out just by LLMs and unpacking some of those experiences and emotions in a way that's meaningful to customers. So thank you for sharing your insights. For the next question,
Add something to
Astha.
that? I would love to add something to that. So it's
Yeah, feel
not
free.
just from a customer experience point of view, right? But it's also powering AI and ML is sort of helping with fulfillment, right? Like what product needs to be which store in which location. For example, if you are in a college town and we know college starts August, September, making sure you've got a lot of dorm supplies in that particular store or in that particular neighborhood, right? So the back end of our fulfillment system of making sure that the right products are in the right store at the right time for the right customer. All of that is being powered by AI and ML models. And it's really helping sort of take that lens and that approach to making sure that we can anticipate customer needs and be prompt with those types of challenges.
Maybe to add on what you are saying, Asta, is the fact that the consumers, they also leave us a lot of information, for with reviews and ratings for us. It's a rich source of consumer feedback, real time. And we've developed some application and solutions to be able to understand what they are saying, worldwide on our products, on the competitors' products, just to make sure that we do get their feedback and we use that feedback to improve the experience, the products, to fuel the innovation. So I think the good news is that we can bring the consumers in our product development, in our building the experience, and I think the voice of the consumers is more heard now than before, thanks to AI. And I was reading in the chat, there are some questions on, are we becoming all data junkie, and does that mean that we will only get one answer based on the average data? What I would want to say to that is that AI and that is a piece of it, but obviously you will also have the creativity of the human touch. It's really finding the right balance between what you learn with data and some of the bold decision or initiative that you will launch that probably are against what the data is saying, and that you still need to do that. So I think in that human touch, it's important to keep the human touch in all what we do, and I think we will later on discuss a little bit about LLMs and the new way we can engage in conversation with the consumers, and I think that will help us also to get a richer and more natural way of engaging with our consumers.
Yeah, and I think building on what you said, Stefan, to de-average, we need to think about the analysis of all of that raw open feedback that you were talking about, not just at the macro level. So obviously we have our top 10 user issues that everyone internally is aware of, and we're working to solve those, and those form the backbone of our product roadmap. But those are macro. And so now what I was describing earlier, the signal to action engine, is the micro clusters that sit within that. So that we're not just fixing a broader theme, but maybe missing some of the nuance that users have in different parts of the world or specific use cases. But we're tackling those, edge case use cases and user needs as well at a really micro level. And that is more challenging, but more fun.
Thank you for sharing that. Asta, what are the main challenges in implementing AI for customer experience, and how are you guys tackling them?
Yeah, a big one, right? Like if you look at a lot of retail or a lot of traditional companies, their tech stack started to get built in the late 90s, early 2000s. And we have data going back 20, 25 years, which is sitting in certain places and really hard to access. A lot of these systems were built one on top of the other. So data quality and accessibility is a key challenge for a lot of key players, because how do you get to the data so you can run ML and AI models on top of it? The other one is also making sure that we can reduce bias, right? There's fairness in the ecosystem. We are not biased with sort of the recommendations we're making, or our models are not biased. Those are sort of the big two. There are a lot more, but those would be the big two that we want to make sure we keep in mind.
I think just by the metaphor of like AI and constant iteration on that, like I think it's exciting how you mentioned the fact that it's been an evolutionary process, and of course now it seems like every year is more like a decade in the world of AI and how fast things are changing. So looking back at data architectures and legacy systems that a lot of companies, including like 7-Eleven, have built over decades, and now we're basically being pushed to reevaluate and question and bring up those up to speed. So it seems like a lot of it is changing the entire architecture of stuff that's been going on for the past decades to kind of bring it up to where the customer needs are and to where the technology is heading. Would love to hear what IKEA is exploring in this and what type of challenges you're seeing, Anka.
Absolutely what Asta said, we see the same. But what I wanted to add for me, being looking at the stores, is the source of truth. We have, when we give answers to our customers in the store, we are responsible to give correct recommendations. And we have a challenge there because the data we have, the source of data, most of the cases is not always reliable. We get wrong recommendation. And this is one of the problem we are trying to solve. We have tried to create our, we call it INGKA GPT, trying to use our databases, our models, our information, our data, so we can create the right recommendation. Still, we are far away from being good and accurate. And I think this will be the biggest problem: the source of the data, the source of truth. And I think that truth, trust, transparency will be the biggest problems coming in the future. There will be very rare assets, and how we are going to secure that, it's a big problem for the future. So yeah, that's one big thing. On top of the data quality is probably the biggest one. With all the architecture we have, with the data locked in the monolithic systems, my God, just to expose that data and create the right exposure, it's a pain.
Right.
Touching on what you said, Anka, about the accuracy of recommendations, I was just reading some of the questions from the audience, and there's one from, I'm going to butcher your name, I'm sorry, Kutela Mayeni, who was talking about why do developers assume that everybody wants personalized content? Have studies been done to determine at what point content becomes monotonous and users lose interest? And so actually kind of connecting with what you said about, accuracy of the recommendation, what we found when I was working at Meta, looking after the ads on Facebook and Instagram and all, platforms you're familiar with, was that there's kind of a sweet spot in the spectrum of accuracy of personalization. If you get it too right, it actually becomes creepy and people disengage. So you don't actually want to personalize as well as you possibly can in some cases, because it will creep people out. So that it's not, and also, totally unpersonalized is not relevant. So you really have to balance to find that right sweet spot in the middle. And so it's less about, monotony or losing interest. It's more about making people scared because you know them too well.
Yeah, I think, and I can share a very an experiment we are doing on that, which is trying to use LLMs to engage conversation with consumers. And what we've seen is that some of the consumers, they want you to ask 3 questions and then they want to answer very personalized. And some of the consumers, they want to talk for 10 minutes, ask 27 questions, and get 10 options. And there is, as you mentioned, there is no like a one single result or one average consumers. What we need to cater for is different styles, and it's exactly what we've experienced in the real world. When you talk to the people, the shop assistant, they will tell you that some of the consumers, they'd like to spend hours with them discussing, and some of them, they just want the product and very, very quickly. And what we need to do with technology is to be able to reproduce that. And it's not easy. It's finding the right balance between going straight to the point, finding what are the key data points, and make the recommendation, and also engaging into a discussion. And I think that's where at least I'm an optimist, and I'm a passionate, because that's a really complicated AI and tech challenge, which is to find the right balance between the creativity of LLMs, which then goes to maybe hallucination, and at the same time giving them a frame. And I think that's the topic of that the topic in which we are in. It's not solved. The technology is still immature, but I think it's a great question. And my take on how we do that with full transparency with the consumer, saying that you are talking to me, beauty genius, the way we call it. I'm an AI powered solution with limitations, and do that very transparently.
Yeah, I think you're right. And those inputs and controls also give a sense of control over the whole personalization experience, which I think limits the creepiness factor. So that's also helpful.
On that note, there's a question from the audience on detecting what type of KPIs and signal points that we explore. So Nissa, you mentioned like kind of the creepiness aspect of this, and how sometimes it's to the benefit of customers, but sometimes it's a detractor to the customer experience as well. Could you guys share any thoughts on like how you guys were detecting this, what type of KPIs you were using to measure success, and kind of defining that sweet spot?
Sorry, how we're detecting what? I missed that.
Detecting the deflection point of customer experience. That kind of, you mentioned there's a sweet spot between when it becomes too good and it's a detractor from kind of the customer satisfaction, and how you balanced measuring that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can jump in while everyone else is thinking. So what I was describing was my previous experience at Meta, where this was something that we were monitoring, because I don't think it's a shock to anyone to hear that, some people find that Facebook ads or Instagram ads can be creepy, and there are these memes about them, the devices being on and listening to your conversations. Of course, that all is not true, but it's, based on your search behavior and so forth. So it can be hyper-personalized, and it's one of the, best businesses in the world at personalization based on behavior. So we would measure that, look at engagement rates with the ads to kind of sense check how well are we doing. Are we hitting the sweet spot, or have we gone too personalized? Are these ads being reported? That type of thing. So we would look at the typical performance metrics to try and find that sweet spot. At Skyscanner, I don't think we're edging anywhere near that. And like I said, we're going very much down the explicit route as well. So kind of similar to what Stefan was saying, where we ask people for inputs, whether it's through a chat bot or through filters, so they feel more in control of the situation, which means we haven't heard anything about creepiness come up in our research at Skyscanner as of yet.
Awesome, thank you for sharing that. Anca, there's a question for you in the audience as well, regarding the same topic. So IKEA has built a Gen AI IKEA store on OpenAI. How is that performing, and do you foresee other use cases for this for IKEA, like based out of ChatGPT or any of the kind of LLM extensions to this conversation?
So how is this going? We are in the exploration mode. We are trying different model. We are trying to build our own model. We are trying to use OpenAI. We are trying to use different others. We say again, we have not reached the level we wanted to be able to put it in, to roll out in all our stores. So we are still in the MVP world, where we are trying different ways. We are working to create what we call a brain, INGKA brain AI. So it's a lot of exploration around, but definitely we are very committed to explore this and move forward. And there will be many, many use cases, especially into our adding into our existing tools. For example, online you have the imagination, where you can reimagine your room. This is actually really our room design that will be enhanced with the AI. And then in the store, we have our kiosks, where we want our customers to come and design their room there and really find the furniture or the addition to their furniture that they want to buy. So it's really about enhancing customer experience through that. Also, we are looking into adding intelligent shelves, for example, with the price, with updates, with the stock. So there's lots of things that we are looking into, and this is really only focusing towards customers. We also do a lot of things towards coworkers. And when we didn't talk today, but really about when we look at the store, it's about optimization, improvements of the store, improvements of the way that our coworkers you spend their time. Instead of doing manual work, we need to optimize their ways of working to focus more in meeting our customers, so to increase the customer satisfaction. And I also saw a question about sustainability. I probably can take it in the end because I think it's really, really important. And AI, and I'm really committed and dedicated in all these talks I have on how can we create a sustainable environment using AI. And IKEA is absolutely committed to do that, and circularity and how you can redesign your furniture. But this is things that we are thinking forward, still has to be put in practice and implemented across all our stores.
Yeah, I think building on that, I think AI can help a lot on sustainability, and in the supply chain, what we've seen is that using AI will remove a lot of inefficiency that we had before in supply chain. So, being in sales forecasting, in inventory deployment, in working with suppliers, we are able through the use of AI to have much more accurate sales forecasts, and to have a better stock deployment. So I think AI is helping a lot on that film. Having said that, what we are also conscious of is that we need to do AI and technology in a sustainable way. So working a lot on even the sustainability of our algorithm. One of the criteria for validating algorithms is to make sure that we've looked at their performance in terms of sustainability. So that's what we are looking at. And sometimes we go for less performing algorithm because it's smaller and it will consume more. I've seen that there was also some question on the governance of AI and Gen AI. What I can share, especially on Gen AI, when you embark on that journey, the first thing that we did was really working on the do's and don'ts. So before we explored, we said at L'Oréal for the group at group level that this is the don'ts, and I think that's a strong stance, which is to say that because the technology has some risk, to also say this is something that we will never do with technology. And I'll give you one concrete example. We have decided not to use Gen AI to generate faces or body, because our stance is that we sell true products to true real humans. So making sure that in all our ads, basically, if we want to showcase the output of our products, we are using real pictures. Obviously, Gen AI and AI can be used to be inspired, but in the end, when you need to prove and to show the output, then you are not using a Gen AI. So that's one of the don'ts that we have defined. And governance of AI and Gen AI is a really a key topic for us.
Thanks for sharing that. I liked how you put it, the don'ts within the AI. So far, we've been exploring mainly about the do's. Does anybody else want to chime into this as well? I think there's a couple questions around that similar topic of governance and how opt-out mechanisms, or if there's flows or thought processes in your organizations for putting limits within AI and automation. If not, we can go to the next question, which is how are we balancing human interaction in AI-enhanced customer experiences, and focusing on not getting too distracted on the automation side of things and having that balance between the human experience and automation? I will keep on reading through the audience questions. There's a lot of questions coming in, so I appreciate everybody sharing their thoughts and feedback. Maybe we'll pick one more from the audience before we'll dive back into the questions.
I think there are some questions on how do we ensure that we are using AI for the right thing, or and that we are not doing AI for just the sake of AI. Which is an important question, and I've been leading the tech transformation of L'Oréal for almost a decade now, and I can tell you that when you are working on tech transformation, you are with these waves of new technology, metaverse, and Gen AI that brings a technology back to the forefront and to the board or the board level, and so I think in tech you have to be ready for that, and I think what we've been trying to do is also to be focused on value. So really being serious in measuring the value of the use case, the products, or the application that we develop. So that's one. The second thing is really a little bit of centralization, because it's difficult to have this judgment in a very decentralized organization where everybody wants to experiment. So what that has created is a probably more centralization in the way we approach, because you need to rely on talent pool that is scarce, and to make this judgment. And obviously you want to try and innovate, but you also want to kill things that are not performing. So that's what we are trying to do. It's not easy, but it's not specific to AI. It's specific to any new technology that is emerging and popping up.
Totally agree with everything you said, Stefan. That might be the biggest don't, I would say, is what Sohal called out in the chat, which is implementing AI for AI's sake, doing it because it's trendy, because senior stakeholders are saying, we need to be doing more, we need to do something with LLMs. That is a recipe for disaster. It's just one tool in our toolbox, and we always need to anchor on what problem are we solving for the user, and how can we use the tools that we have to solve that problem even better moving forward. So I remember the same conversations happening, a decade ago about big data. Oh, we have these data lakes. How can we use that to, create new features or experiences? But we need to remember not to let the tail wag the dog. Go in with what problem you're solving, and then figure out how you can leverage everything at your disposal, which we now have much more of, to bring that to life in new, exciting ways.
I think, what we are trying to do is, okay, what are the consumers' tension that we are trying to solve?
Yes.
And that's probably the first question that I'm asking. Then when I'm presenting a new tech, a new product, is okay, what are we solving for? And do people, is it a true consumer tension, or is it an imagine one? But we think
Yes.
it's and then so that's really for me the driving part. I saw that. Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe just to say that on top of solving customer problems, because that's what we want to do. We want to solve customer problems and improve efficiency. Where I think we need to focus and use AI, it's actually to improve efficiency, and it's already proved by all these copilots are improving efficiency with approximately 50%. This is a big gain, and of course, it's not always targeting customer, but by using efficiency resources more efficient, and using this efficiency to our customer can create great things. Of course, that will be a focus. And then someone else, and then Stefan, I let you speak, was talking about content creation. If they will be replace it in a year, I'm not sure if in a year, but definitely that can something that can be auto generated. However, what I think will miss creativity. I feel like all the ads will start looking the same. Already today, if you read someone that is writing a text, you can immediately detect is written with a chat GPT or with another bot, because you can see the same words. So I actually, for the future, and I'm sure we will get to the end, what is the future? I really fear have we actually reached like a plateau level of creativity? What will happen to humanity? Everything is generating using old data. What's happening with the new creativity, imagination? And that's probably a fear that I have it for the future. We are so creative as humans, but have we reached a top? Sorry, maybe I open it for the last question.
No, that's perfect. That's a good segue into the next one. In terms of the futures, what are your thoughts about what future trends will influence customer experience with AI? Asta, do you want to kick things off?
Yeah, a big one is sort of multi-channel integration, right? Like, how do we get our AI models to deploy across the board, whether it's our social media, physical stores, uh, the mobile apps that you have? So making sure that the AI models flow through end to end. The other big one is ethical AI, just making sure, right? Bias is huge, making sure our models are built fairly, there is no implicit bias in them. And then the third part, which we briefly discussed, but it's this idea of, are we solving the right problem with the right constraints? There is a massive sort of push across the organization as we were talking, like, let's use AI more. But I think for a lot of traditional players, it's going to be a step change. So you start out with marketing and sales is using a lot of it. We have AI powered models for fulfillment, for sourcing, and then we will move it across sort of the value chain of the full company. So those are the sort of the big ones that I see.
And for me, what I see the big things, I think the whole retail, since I'm working in retail, it's coming to another revolution of a retail. And there will be kind of the, you know, it's a hyper personalization. It's me in the center, and AI will be the fuel. Someone said very nicely that AI is like a new it's a new electricity. So like you have before electric toothbrush, you will have an AI toothbrush in the future. So I think AI, it's kind of a big thing happening. We had, we have PC, we had web, we have mobile, we had cloud. This is like kind of the fourth wave of the big things coming to change our life. We have to be very careful how we use that to our own good and we don't really screw it up. Sorry for the words. But I think it is here to stay. And you see that democratizing, because AI is not new. If I remember when I was student, I have learned the first Markov chains and how you do Monte Carlo method. That's kind of an old stuff. But it's what brought last year was actually a democratization. Everyone can use it to their own purpose. So yeah, I think future is bright. I want to look positive, but we need to make sure that we use it for the good reason, not for the bad one.
I think too, for me, the one of the biggest revolution empowered by what you've just explained, Anca, is the way we interact, the way people and consumers or even users engage with the rest of the world. Because for the time being, when you are thinking of doing something, buying something, so you will go on Google to do some searches. You will go on social media platforms to look at a TikTok video or an Instagram. You will ask your friends. And I think we are entering an era where we will all have these GPT powered way of interacting, where you will engage in a conversation that will help you to get that. So I think we are at a point where uh, the the social interaction will change dramatically. So that's my take. I don't know. Maybe I've be proven wrong. And I remember a few years ago when we said that voice interaction will change everything, and there was the voice assistant, and it didn't happen. So maybe it will be the same. But I think with this new technology, we are at a point where you can engage with an AI powered or Gen AI powered system, like a natural conversation, and you can even ask questions that you wouldn't dare asking to a friend or a beauty assistant. So that's where I'm very excited, sorry, and looking forward to the future.
You guys have covered a lot of them, so I'll add one last angle. So I think that if we look at a lot of the consumer trends that have existed for several years and are accelerating, if we combine the proliferation of choices and the cognitive overload that that creates for all of us in our day-to-day lives, whether it's at work or at home. Plus, increasing trust in AI, what we will see is an increase in giving agency to those models to make decisions for us. So we already see people subscribing to things like Stitch Fix or HelloFresh, making decisions for you about what are you going to have for dinner, what are you going to wear in terms of clothing. People are already doing that, and now there's more capacity for this, AI-powered model to make decisions for you. And right now, it's kind of a co-pilot situation where we're engaging with it to make a decision, but we still have the agency. But I can imagine in the future, people will outsource that decision making and that agency entirely and just say, hey, bot, take care of my grocery shopping for the month. Done. But again, everything you all said comes into play. How do we make sure we do that ethically, sustainably, and in a trustworthy manner?
And if I can just build, I just remember I read a very interesting book about AI becoming the moral decision maker to remove biases and actually enable the environment and create a sustainable climate, because it's removing the bribes, and then can be. And that was a really interesting dialogue about, how far can we go with this moral decision, and how much AI will be our god to guide us in the life. That was a very very interesting book to read. So yeah, um, interesting future. Another thing that I hope for AI to help us, it's actually to remove the barriers with the inclusivity and diversity. I hope that the technology will bring us to a level where you will remove all the biases, and then we can create more inclusive space with the tools. That's what I hope for.
That's an awesome plug for the next session, guys. Tune in for panel 2, which is going to be about more on ethics and AI and governance. But I think just to summarize, it's a really fascinating conversation around both where we are coming from in the past and where the future is heading towards today. And on the topic of agency, look forward to seeing all the cool stuff that your companies bring to the table and what your teams focus on in the future. And I think everyone in the audience, there's a ton of questions. We probably can spend the rest of the day just going through the list. So appreciate all the engagement from the audience and from the speakers. And yeah, I did personally learned a lot from you guys. So looking forward to the next panels. Appreciate it, everyone.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.